You're listening to All About Us Radio. We're live streaming 24/7, playing old school versus new school. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at AAU Media, and visit our website www.aaumedia.com. Call us at 1-833-369-1444, extension 1, and leave us an inspirational message or request. You're listening to All About Us Radio. You're listening to All About Us Radio.
Hi there, I'm Stephanie Mann, and this is the Safe Kids Now show. And I am so happy to welcome today Frank Briggs, who is the co-author and co-founder of the Points of Light Network, which was formed in 2013. It is a community education nonprofit foundation whose platform centers on engaging with their local communities through volunteerism, focusing on the younger generation. By creating a network of mentors, we can focus on future leaders. Oh, I'm so happy to welcome today Frank Briggs. Hi, Frank.
How you doing, Stephanie?
Welcome. We're so happy to have you join us. I can't wait to talk to you about this very important mission you have, which is involving young people in mentoring. So tell us, how did you happen to get into this field in the first place?
Well, it's kind of a long story, but let me give you the Reader's Digest condensed version. Basically, in 2011, there was a Facebook or a group on LinkedIn that was all about inspiring and sharing. So I was on there, and one day a young gal shared a story about how she was having a difficult time with her boss. And from around the world, people joined in and said, okay, this is what you can do. This is what you can do. And they helped her. A few days later, somebody else shared something. And once again, around the world, people helped. Well, during this time frame, I was struggling with a very personal issue with my wife, who at that time was contemplating suicide.
Oh, my.
Her siblings had basically taken everything from her in a trust, threw her aside like a piece of trash, and discarded her like she was absolutely nothing. And she was very depressed and down. So I didn't know what to do. Each and every day I would try to reach her, and she would just look at me with a blank stare. And finally, one day I thought, well, gosh, they helped these other two people. Maybe they could help me. So I posted what was going on. And nothing, absolutely nothing. Day after day after day, I checked, and there was no responses. And on day 5, I was discouraged. When I opened up LinkedIn, there was probably 50 or 60 responses, people finally chiming in and telling me what I could do. So I started taking suggestions, and I sat down with her over the next few weeks, and we talked. And then next thing you know, one morning when the alarm went off, she jumped out of bed before I could turn off the alarm, turned on the light, turned at me, and she says, I am so tired of this. I am going to fight this tooth and nail. And I looked at her, and I could see the fire in her eye, the fire that I seen when we were first married. And just the fact that that fighting spirit was back. So I shared the success of what happened on the group. And my co-founding partner reached out to me and said, this is great. We can inspire people by sharing good news. And thus we conceived the idea for the Point of Light Network to share good news, to help people through volunteerism and community service, but focusing on the younger generation. That's where it all started.
You know, we do need good news. So I'm so happy to hear that, because all we get is bad news. So tell us more about that. What did you do after that?
Well, it's interesting because, I mean, Joe and I would talk, my co-founding partner, Joe Llewellyn, who lives in Detroit, Michigan, him and I would talk here and there on the phone. We would also chat over emails about what we can do. And finally, we decided, let's meet face to face. So he drove from Detroit to Milwaukee. I flew to Milwaukee, and we sat down face to face with a few other people who were a part of that original group. And we sat down and we conceived, how can we help? What can we do to make the world a better place? And it all started with us. because that's where it all has to happen. We have to have that drive, that ambition, that desire to do good. And it all comes from paying it forward by giving back to our communities. So
Right.
that's kind of where we're at.
I love it. I love it. You know, so many people don't really think about, especially during the election year, they don't think about what they can personally do
Mhm.
and how they can change lives. And we, the people, are really the ones that are going to change lives, because if you look at the politicians, I'm not sure they're going to change a whole lot unless we, the people, force them to make some changes. So,
Right.
okay.
Yeah.
Now, as a result of all of this, what was your next step?
Well, basically, we just decided on, we, of course, like any nonprofit, that we decided to do a nonprofit. So, like any of them, you have to start putting together a plan. And that requires kind of like a business plan for any sort of business. You have to come up with, what are you going to do? What are your goals? How much money do you think that you want to bring in on donations? Are you going to have events going on? Are you going to be selling merchandise that's going to help this thing? What exactly is your end game for this? So over the next 6-7 months, we put together our nonprofit business plan with a help from a group out of Nashville, Tennessee. They helped put it together. I submitted all the paperwork, and then the IRS granted us and gifted us with not just nonprofit status, but nonprofit foundation status, which is awesome, because that way we can receive and give grants in the future, which is perfect. Yeah. I was only expecting the nonprofit part, but when they added the foundation step to it, I was just like on cloud nine, thinking this wasn't just a gift of a thought that we had, but this was a gift from a higher power saying, you've
That's
got
right.
more to do. We're going to help you do it.
Meant to be, meant to be. So how do
Exactly.
you actually help the younger generation here?
Well, a lot of it starts, we feel, when they're like in their early teenage years, junior high.
Mm-hmm.
So eventually we want to have it to where kids can earn a scholarship for college, but these aren't kids whose parents can afford all this. These are the kids who really want to learn, have the desire, but not the means. But they do it by giving back. How many times do you hear kids say, hey, listen, I'm part of this club at school, or hey, listen, after school, I go to the local vet clinic and I volunteer my time helping animals, or I go read to the elderly. So what we want to do is we want kids to start using this platform of helping others to help themselves eventually. And that's where we want to go with it. So we want them to start doing community service, being involved in their schools through programs there, through the community. And then each time they, of course, would get credit for a potential scholarship down the road if that is what they're after.
Great. That sounds like it has a lot of potential. Now, how far along have you gotten on this plan?
Well, not as far as we would like, but further than what we would have been. Unfortunately, when we got hacked here recently on our website, they got more than just our website. They were able to get into our bank account too. So the money that we had in funds, which wasn't a whole lot, but we lost that as well. A lot of it for the end game of it, we just need the funds, of course, to be able to do it. But as far as this goes, I'm in the process of talking to the local high schools and local junior highs, and I'm talking with the staff there and saying, okay, this is what we have. This is the program that we wanted to put into place. I just need more people in more cities to step up and say, hey, I'm willing to go too. What information do you have that I could go to the schools with and get them started in this program? Because that's how we're going to grow. I can't go all across the country myself. I need people to help. So I'm asking people if they can, and you live in, maybe you live in Missouri, maybe you live in Texas, your town, go to your high schools, go to your junior highs, talk to them. But if you need information, get the information from me of what needs to be asked or done, and let's get this thing going. Let's kick it into high gear.
Well, have you had a response from that, or how do you get that information out to other people?
They would actually have to contact me either by phone or by mail or email. But right now, my email, of course, is down because we were hacked. But they could call me if they'd like. That's fine. I'm willing to take phone calls anytime. And I could give them the information. I just need to get their information so I can then send it off to them. And it's pretty basic. It's just a couple little forms that they would take into the schools and talk to the counselors, the principal, maybe a couple teachers or the PTA, and say, this is what we're after. This is what we want to do. And try to get that seed planted so we can start growing the network.
Okay, so once somebody makes a presentation to a teacher or somebody in the school, what is the next step? How do you get the kids actually involved?
Well, basically, you put the announcement out to the kids. I mean, I'm not sure how schools do it now. That's changed since I was in high school many years ago. But whatever way the teachers can get this information out, it could be just a short little thing that a teacher does in the homeroom class that says, hey, listen, we have this exciting program opportunity for you. If you're interested, please come see me and we can go from there. Or put it as an announcement that could go home to the parents on a paper stating the fact that there's this opportunity. Sit down and talk with your kids about this and see if they're interested. That avenue can go many different directions. We haven't quite locked it down yet which way we would want it to go, but it can go quite a few ways and still be on the right track.
Well, now, of course, the easiest way to start something like that is to start in your own community. So have you had any success in your own area for making this work?
I have had some success. We have in our great area right here, I've got at my disposal within a very short distance 4 high schools. And I've got, I think, 7 junior highs. I have talked to the counselors and the principals at the schools, and they have put information out. I've got a couple people, a couple kids have called up and said, hey, listen, my mom and dad are here on speakerphone. Tell them what's going on or what I can do. And I just said, well, this is what you can do. And I give the information to them. And a couple of the kids have just like, I do this kind of stuff anyway. So I figured since I'm doing it on my own, I might as well do something that's going to make a positive difference and potentially help me down the road if I decide I want to go that way.
Okay. Well, I love your enthusiasm and your optimism, because it does take one person to set a spark and then ignite something throughout the community. Have you approached any of the local organizations like, boys clubs, girls clubs, Scouts, any of those groups?
I haven't talked to the Cub Scouts, Girl Scouts. Those organizations, they're kind of closed with what they want to do because they have their own agendas. Boys clubs and girls clubs, a couple people I know that are with those organizations, they said that they would actually talk with people. They sometimes aren't real big, at least in this area, they aren't real big about letting outsiders come in and start talking to the kids. Because they think that there's going to be an ulterior motive, which is really sad that people would think that. But unfortunately, in the society that we live in, sometimes people look at the negative before they see the positive.
You're right about that. No doubt about it. So what is your greatest hope for the future as you are looking to help young people? What is your dream here?
Well, you had mentioned something earlier about, of course, the elections and what's going on with the politicians and stuff. And our whole idea is that we want to create future leaders because we feel that if we can educate people, we inspire them. Inspired people become motivated. Motivated people become empowered. And that's what we want to do with the young people. We want to educate them so we can inspire them, motivate them, and empower them to become the leaders that we need, so desperately need in this country, and who will take the reins and do the things the way they're supposed to do.
Mm-hmm. And as a result of your work, and you've been doing this how long?
Since 2013.
Okay, so you have learned a lot. What is the most important thing you've learned through all of this to putting it together? You must have learned a great deal.
Well, the biggest thing I've learned is that people, if they don't quite understand something, they shut down on you. And so many people say, oh, what a great concept. What can I do? And as soon as you try to tell them or explain to them or ask them what they can do, oh, I don't have the time. Oh, get
I've
back
heard
to me
that.
later on. I think we can do this later on. Just let me know in the future. And that's a polite way of saying goodbye.
Yeah, it's very hard to motivate people. I'm
is.
a crime and violence prevention consultant. In my job of getting neighborhoods together, I found that teenagers are amazingly effective in bringing neighbors together. This is something you might consider because when kids go door to door, well, let me say when adults go door to door, a lot of people won't open the door.
Right.
But when kids in the neighborhood go door to door, they do tend to open it because they're kids. And so we got neighbors to come together, and the kids learned how to work within a neighborhood group, which is a great way to start, learning how to talk to adults, how to work with them. So that's one thing that might be helpful to you. So we have a lot of information on safekidsnow.com if you want to take a look at that, because I've found that kids are very interested in helping out. For example, we had people go door to door, and one lady said she needed a flashlight, which was pretty simple. And one of the young men ran home and asked his mom if he could give her a flashlight, and she said, sure. So, I mean, kids want to help. They have good instincts, but you need, and we need, all of us need to find ways to help empower them. So what do you see for the future for your organization?
Just continued growth. And, eventually I see that we will have a network across the country of people who want to come together for the betterment of all, not just for some. I see that we will be teaching and guiding our future leaders within the next 5 to 10 years, that we will have a good crop of people that we have personally touched through our organization who believe what we believe, and as far as the future goes for them as well, and even their successors. So what I see is that I'm going to leave a gift of guidance to the next generation. And that's the greatest thing I could possibly do.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to take a little break here. And when we come back, we're going to ask the question, what has been your biggest struggle with all of this? Because you started in 2013 and now it's 2023 coming up. So we will talk to you in just a minute. We'll be right back.
You're listening to All About Us Radio. We're live streaming 24/7, playing old school versus new school. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at AAU Media, and visit our website www.aaumedia.com. Call us at 1-833-369-1444, extension 1, and leave us an inspirational message or request. You're listening to All About Us Radio.
Throw and Tuck. It's handmade by myself, and you only can get it here, and it's patent, and it's only here at Rococo Design. It's like a regular pillow, or you can take the blanket out like so, fluff up the pillow, open up your blanket, wrap it around yourself, and then you can lay on your sofa and relax with your pillow, throw and tuck. When you're done with it, just flip it over. When you don't want the blanket anymore, you just fold it over twice. Fold it over twice again. Fold it over. And tuck it in the back. And there you go. You're back to the pillow, throw, and tuck. Rococo Design.
Welcome back. And we are talking today with Frank Briggs. He is the co-founder of the Points of Light Network, which was formed, pardon me, in 2013. And one of the biggest, we all have obstacles, Frank. I know from my experience. And it is not easy to get a nonprofit going, a foundation going. It's a lot of work. So what has been your biggest struggle?
Well, I think like any of them that you hear, it's all about the finances. And that's just getting people to understand what you're trying to do and to say, yeah, we can help. And Joe and I talked, a few times. I don't want some major corporate donor that says, oh, here's a couple $1,000s. No, it's like the politician once said, give me 100,000 people who do $1 donation and I'll be happy. It's the little people that do the most good. And it's the small donations that add up to the biggest thing. And that's our biggest struggle. Once I get the website back up and going, that's a great way for people to see who we are. They can email me back again, and when that happens, and of course, at that particular point, we can start taking funds in again, so we can start getting. Everything that we do requires, I guess, money to move ahead. I can't make up flyers and stuff on my own. I can, but it's extremely expensive. That's the biggest struggle, I guess, Stephanie, is just trying to get the funds back going again so we can continue the work that we started. And I'm not asking for large things. I'm just asking for those little small ones, the ones that mean the most.
Okay, so you're looking for financial support for putting flyers together, and for what else? What do you need?
Well, it's not just flyers. I'm looking for, information, flyers, I guess, forms that we would have for people, ways that we can do certain advertising. Some places will let us do it for free because we are a nonprofit, so they can take a tax donation. If they do it, they can write it off. We were trying to have a couple events that we were going to do. I was trying to do a women's empowerment conference here recently, but unfortunately, COVID stopped that one down. We had it scheduled to have 400 attendees come. I had all the speakers lined up, the breakout speakers, all the information, everything put together. We were ready to do it, and of course, when COVID hit, everything got shut down, and that got taken away. So, fundraisers, we're trying to do that. So we just need information, volunteers, people that want to help, and especially in the local area here. But I'll even start taking people in other cities who want to volunteer, like I said earlier, to help get the message out to the organizations or schools where kids are at. Boys and Girls Clubs, I like that idea, Stephanie. I thought that was a great idea. I honestly never really thought about it. I just know that Cub Scouts, Boy Scouts, and Girl Scouts, they're kind of closed. They don't like the outside influence coming in, even though it is something positive for the kids. I guess it's just.
I've found, Frank, it depends on the leadership of the guy or gal that's leading the group, whether they are receptive or not. It's basically, when I've been working with kids, it's actually who's in charge. Some people are very open and say, oh, we'd love to have you come in and make a presentation or whatever. And another thing you could do is go to the Rotary clubs and all of those community organizations that I'm sure you probably have in your area, and especially women's groups. Women want their kids to be involved. They're the mothers. They're the nurturers. They're the ones that say, I'd love to have my child involved in something after school, So there are, do some research in your area and see what there is available. And I'm sure you'll find some really willing, supportive people to build your network, because that would be huge for your community. And then you can start moving out from there when you have some successes.
Right. That makes sense? And we have talked to the Rotary Club. I mean, I've sat down with the different Rotary clubs in the local area, and I've gone as far as like 30 miles radius out to other towns in the area as well.
Good.
So you're familiar with the area that I live in, so you kind of know what I'm talking about. It's not exactly, everything's not right on top of you. So some of the stuff is more rural, but
Oh,
it
yes.
does work. It does work. And even though we are somewhat rural here, we have big city issues, especially with the kids. So that's why we really want to start getting out there and getting this message going so we can help these kids before they choose the wrong path.
Well, that's exactly what needs to happen. I'm so pleased that you took this time to share with me your inspiration and what you're doing in your community to really try and change things for children. We need a lot more people like you, Frank, that are involved in saying, you know what, I'm semi-retired or I've got time on my hands. Now let me see what I can do to help Frank out, or just start talking to people that really need some support, because this is a very important issue for all of us. It's not just you and me. It's about all of us, even in our own neighborhoods, connecting with kids and learning about them. And we have a huge child abuse and neglect problem. It's especially bad since COVID because kids were isolated in their homes and not in their schools. So we really need to get out, and more adults have to get involved to help the kids, because some of our parents are not doing an adequate job of helping to raise them. But kids are so smart if you give them the tools and give them the help. So what's one of the final things you might pass on to the rest of us?
Well, you pretty much hit the nail on the head when you talk about that we need to get to the kids and be a positive influence to the kids. When we set the standards, it needs to be something positive that they can follow. Years and years and years ago, I was a camp counselor, and it was interesting because I realized, because we used to have weeks where we would have kids from the streets come out. These kids had no idea what nature was about. And when you put a child sometimes, or a young kid, into an uncomfortable position but safe in nature, they start looking for answers, but they ask questions to find the solution. And if that's what we can do with our kids now, is if we can kind of put them into that uncomfortable, safe situation where they want to ask questions for a solution, but are curious to know how to do it, that's our greatest step forward that we can take. Because once we can spark that in the kids, you can't stop them. And when they decide that they're going to do something, they're a force to be reckoned with. And that's the whole thing, is you give them that one spark, that one little tidbit of hope of something that's amazing, and they're going to make it amazing. They're going to run with it. They're going to take it and they're going to do whatever they can. And then they're going to share it with others to say, hey, guess what I did? This is something I accomplished. You can accomplish it too, but we have to ignite that in them. And that's the hardest part to do, is because we have to get to them first and talk to them.
Absolutely. And, we really need to find ways of getting kids away from the computer and more involved in their own community. Because not too long ago, I interviewed an FBI agent who said probably the most dangerous place you can put your child is in front of a computer, because wherever your child is, the predators are waiting for them. So we need to have parents be more aware that they need to get their kids out and doing projects like you're suggesting, getting them involved and having more adults to work with the kids if we want to see real change in this country. So do you have any final last words that you'd like to share, Frank?
I have a lot of things I'd like to share, but also, how sometimes you have all these thoughts, but your mind goes, nope, I'm going to shut down. I just say that, I'm just going to say, Stephanie, if we can just keep on the same path that we're both on with what you're doing and what I'm doing, and I know that both groups could work hand in hand together, we just need to keep working towards the betterment of the future, not for ourselves, because I'm 64, and I'm guessing within the next 10 to 15, 20 years, I'm going to be gone. I need to leave this world in the hands of people who are capable of making a change. And if I can do that through the young people today, they're going to be the ones that are going to look out for me tomorrow and in the future, and of course, the next generation. So let's start the ball rolling in the right direction, and let's just ignite what this is. I always tell people, let's become powered by purpose. Let's get involved and become powered by purpose. Once
I'm going to write that one down. Powered by purpose.
Now, I actually have shirts that have a design on them that says powered by purpose. And I honestly think that is the biggest thing, that we have to become powered by purpose.
Absolutely. Well, I want to thank you so much for joining me today and sharing your wish list with us and what you are actually doing to make a difference in children's lives, because frankly, Frank, we need more people like you that will take that extra step and make sure that our kids are going to be safe and healthy in the future. So thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me on the show, and thank you for giving me the inspiration and the time to share what I had to say. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Okay, next week, we have an amazing lady join us. Her name is Sarah Kambata, and we are going to be talking about, she's an international coaching, she's with the International Coaching Federation. So I hope Frank will tune in, and we're all going to learn more about the coaching that we need to be doing for not just adults, but for children too. So thank you for joining me today. And I would like to refer you to our website, which is safekidsnow.com. And the newest article that we have that's just been posted is called, "When We Heal Our Children, We Will Heal America." So thank you for joining me.
You're listening to All About Us Radio. We're live streaming 24/7, playing old school versus new school. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at AAU Media, and visit our website, www.aaumedia.com. Call us at 1-833-369-1444, extension 1, and leave us an inspirational message or request. You're listening to All About Us Radio.